A friend of mine told me last week about the person whose work he most admires, the one person in the world. This fellow is a drummer in a rock band, professional drummer, so I thought he was going to say Keith Moon. John Bonham. The person whose work he admires most in the world is Karen Armstrong. And the reason for this admiration, he was very emphatic about this. He started reading Karen Armstrong's books about 10 years ago, and from page 1 of his first reading experience, he could feel something in his worldview start to shift a little bit. His world was shifting a little bit on its axis. He's found something on almost every page to make him think about something, perhaps to change his mind, to make him think again. I think that with the release of 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life, a lot more minds might end up being changed, a lot more worlds being rocked just a little bit on their axes, perhaps people becoming a little more open, perhaps a little bit more prepared to meet the other, to engage with the stranger. This is a remarkable piece of work by a remarkable writer and scholar. What a pleasure it is to say hello and welcome to Karen Armstrong. Now, we need to be on. I'm on. Are you on?
Is it working?
So we need, I think there's a, yes, you're on.
I'm on.
Okay. We're
You
good?
can't hear.
No, I don't think.
These things never work.
No, you do, your green light is on.
My green light is on. I'm doing all right. It's here.
Ah, you know what? It was covered a bit by the sweater.
Yeah.
There we go.
Again, people design these things and not for women's clothes.
It's very true. Thank you.
All right.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you. Thank you. The video's not lined up? Okay, you know what? We're just going to dive right into this, and things can be fixed as we go. I think it's very fitting that someone who writes so much about myth and mythos would have this experience that is almost out of a modern-day fairy tale. You get a call from an organization you've scarcely heard of, and they say, Karen Armstrong, we're the TED people in the United States. We love your work. Here's $100,000, but the main point of this is we are giving you a wish, one wish for anything you want to make the world a better place. You were a bit surprised, I take it?
Yes, I'd never heard of TED. And I thought to myself, TED, Fred, Sid, who on earth is TED? I was intrigued by the idea of a wish for a better world. And I knew almost immediately what it was I wanted.
Which was?
Because all my work, whatever I've been doing, whether I've been writing about God or Jerusalem or fundamentalism or the axial age, Buddha, everything keeps bringing me back to compassion from all the world religions. And it's long been frustrating to me that the religions should be making a major contribution to one of the chief tasks of our time, which is to build a global community where people of all persuasions can live together in respect and harmony. And if we don't achieve that, we're not going to have a viable world. And yet the religions are seen as part of the problem. But each of them has, each in its own independent way, has evolved this ethic of compassion. It's not that they're all the same, as some of my critics say. They're not. My life as a historian of religion would be much, much easier if they were all the same. But the religions, they do all say that there's something wrong with your spirituality if it doesn't lead you to compassion. And each independently has developed its own version of the golden rule. Never do to others what you would not like them to do to you. To look into your own heart, discover what gives you pain, and then refuse under any circumstance whatsoever to inflict that pain on anybody else. And unless we treat all peoples, all ethnicities, as we would wish to be treated ourselves, we are going to be in big trouble. We are in big trouble right now, largely because we have not done so.
Are you addressing religious leaders to the same extent you're addressing everybody in this room, your readers, people across the world?
For everybody. I mean, the charter, that we evolved this idea of a charter for compassion, and it would be written as a grassroots thing, because the religious leaders have had the chance to do this for years and haven't done it. And all too often when they speak out, they speak, about a doctrinal point of view or a particular sexual orientation, as though this was the criterion of faith instead of the golden rule. And yet I knew that wherever I go, in East or West, people are longing to hear more about a compassionate voice for religion. And so the charter was written by hundreds and thousands of people online on a multilingual website, which was TED created in Urdu, Arabic, Hebrew, English, and Spanish. And then was written by a panel of about 20 leading thinkers and activists in 6 of the major world faiths. And the idea was that at a time when the faiths are generally seen to be incurably at loggerheads, this was something we all agreed on, and we were willing to work together to create a better world.
One of the aspects of this that you deal with in the book is that compassion is natural to human beings. It's a natural, perhaps an inborn trait, and yet at the same time it can be a real struggle. I'd like to know how it can be both, because it's clearly a struggle for many of us.
It is. We are forked creatures. We have at least 3 brains in our heads. One is the brain we've inherited from the reptiles that crawled out of the primal slime in the deepest part of our brain, the hypothalamus, and it is focused on 4 mechanisms, all about me, all about survival, all about my genes, my survival. Neuroscientists call these drives the 4 Fs. So they're fighting, fleeing, feeding, and reproduction.
Done.
And these are automatic. If a tiger suddenly leapt into the room, we are supposed to leave our high-minded discussions behind and run for our lives. And when we're threatened, we want to fight. But then we've got a brain that came later with the mammals, which developed in various parts of the brain, in the limbic region. There are areas dealing with altruism, hormones that deal with altruism. We're wired for that too. They're not as strong as these 4 Fs, but they are there. It's what makes a mother look after her child. Mother love. We think of it as wonderfully fulfilling, and of course it is. Not that I'd know anything about that. I've not engaged in the 4F, the 4th F, reproduction. But a mother has to get up to her crying child night after night after night when she's tired and exhausted. She has to put her own wants and needs and impatience and frustration on hold. She has to, and then that cute little baby grows up and can become very disappointing.